Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese and welcome to the Scrapbook Showgram. It is becoming close to Halloween, and in my family it's probably the next biggest thing to the holidays, to Christmas. We just go crazy. We like scaring each other and practical jokes, and of course we love candy, and even dressing up can be fun. So Halloween is big, and I thought that if you're like me, maybe you plan Halloween parties, especially sometimes instead of trick-or-treating, people are starting to do parties at home a lot as well. So I thought we would talk today about creating really spooktacular favors for Halloween. And if you look here, you can see that I have a couple of boxes that have been filled with candy. And notice that this little box even has a fun bat clipped on. He's so cool. If you look at it from the side, you can see it's just simply a clothespin. We're going to see how to make him. Because it's a clothespin, of course, he can clip and hook on anything, which is very cool. If you look over here, you can see that I've also got bats, but this time they're hooked onto bags instead of to boxes. Once again, filled with candy. And however, if you think about it, if it's going to be a party favor, and we'll go back to this box again, I think it's fun to personalize a party favor. Instead of putting the adult or the child's name, if you have photos, it's so better. It's so cool. It's very personal. So here you can see I've started with a picture of Kate from a previous Halloween where she was beginning her festivities with the face painting. And I've gone ahead, I've cut around Kate, cut it out of the photo, and I've used this as a guide to go ahead and trace. So I've now got the photo, and I've got a backing for the photo. Before I fasten the two together, I'm going to sandwich in the middle this stir stick. However, this is going to stick way too tall. I don't need it this tall, and this way, if I cut it in half, I'm going to be able to use it for two. I stopped at my bakery coffee shop this morning and picked this up. They're very nice, and especially if you're buying coffee, you know, they are delighted for you to go ahead and take the stir stick, but instead of using it, I don't even drink coffee, but I do love that green tea frappuccino. Whew, that's good. So I'm going to put adhesive. I'm going to sandwich this stir stick, leaving as much sticking out of the bottom as, depending on how deep it's going to sit into the box or the bag. And then I'm just going to lay back over the top the photo. And since I've used it as a guide, it should line up with the backing. So now I've got, you know, a nice colored backing on the back. You could put the name and any other information that you want to on the back. And now you can see how this now becomes a really great way to personalize your box in order to create a really personal favor. Let's look at how to create the box. I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way so that I can reference this orange one. What I did is I used a die cut. This is an Ellison die cut. If you happen to have kids in school, and especially if you spend any time volunteering at the school, in all likelihood, I know every school that I ever worked at because I was a teacher. And if you bring your own paper and they happen to have a die that you want to use, they are happy to let you use it as long as you just do it when they're not busy cutting themselves. So if you have access to this box pattern, that's great. If you don't, I also tried this and it worked very well. I took a box, and let me go ahead and show you. This is the box, how it started. It was, I can't remember, somebody gave me a present. I think it was jewelry that I got in this just last month. And so rather than tossing it, I saved it thinking, you know, actually thinking I'll probably reuse it as a box. So it came all wrapped up. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to sacrifice my box just so I can show you. If you have a box pattern, all you have to do, even if it's not the right size, you're just going to open it up, and then it's stuck in just this one place, which is the same as the pattern of the die that I use. So I'm taking this apart. I'm going to use this now as a pattern to trace around it. You can see how there's a slight differentiation in the way the bottom folds up, but basically if I put this and then I reduce it down, you might have to go to a copy store in order to get a big enough platform if your box is big that you start with. I reduced it down in order to create a size that was close to the size box that I wanted, simply because I don't want parents to get mad at me by using a box that's so big that it's just jammed with way too much candy. If there could be such a thing as too much candy. Once you have the box pattern, you're going to use it for all the places where you cut, and you're going to use it so that you can see all the places that you're going to fold. So I've put the score marks are already on this from the die. I'm going to do mountain folds on all of the fold places, and I'll go back and I'll also do, so it's easiest to do all the folds at one time, just in one attempt. Just do them all, and they all need to go the same direction. So all mountain or all valley, one or the other. So once you've got everything with one fold on it, then open it back up, and on that one tab, turn it over so that the tab you're on what will be the good side, what will be the outside, and place adhesive on the tab, and then you're going to just fold this over and overlap so that that tab now can seal that box shut. And this is going to give you the box pattern. But before I actually fold it all up and into an actual box, it's easiest to decorate it while it's still in this more flat stage. So at this point, I'm going to add the decoration. Now, I started with black paper, and this is just about, maybe 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. And I'm going to add white lines, and I'm not going to do the whole thing, but enough so you get the idea. Just using my white pen, I'm adding some stripes, which is just a really quick, simple way. If you're doing these for kids at a party, or if you want them to be able to decorate their own as part of the party fun, that's cool too. You would do the whole thing, and then I'm going to add over the top the yellow. However, before I add the yellow, I want to add decoration to it as well. So I'm going to take, and I'll be using an ink pad that has a couple of different colors. I'm going to see how much shading I get if I just do the yellow. And if it's a dark enough, I'm going to add just a little bit more of the orange next to it and blend it a little in order to get a little bit deeper shade, because I know as it dries, it does lighten just a little bit. So I won't bother to do the whole thing, but just using a pencil eraser. And this is a nice big, this is the primary pencil that the kids, when they're first learning how to print in kindergarten, they use this. My dad would call this the for Pete's sake size pencil, because it's very big, but they carry it in Staples, no problem, and use that to create all your dots. You are not, however, going to fasten this to this yet. If you fasten these and you fold them together, the folds tend to bulge differently. I don't know why. It works better to do them one layer at a time. So I'm going to start with the box, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll attach the first layer. Now, I say this all the time. I'm only putting enough adhesive on this so it will hold together long enough for me to show you how this works. You want to do a much more solid surface. I'm going to start with one edge, and I'm going to, I'll start with the striped edge since I know that part will show. And I'm going to just position it so it's roughly in the center. I haven't bothered with the dimensions because I don't really know what the size of your box is going to end up being. And I'm going to fold it, reinforce on all of these. It works the best. I'm going to curl it around. I'm going to first see if it looks like it's going to line up nicely, and it looks like it is. Before I actually do that, I'm going to reinforce this fold. Every time you fold it, it stretches and it pulls the paper just a little bit. So that's why I'm doing it in pieces. I'm going to go ahead and overlap this, and then using the scissors, I'll just trim off any excess. Now remember, when you do this, you'll have solid white stripes on there. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to add the next layer. So I will add adhesive to the back of the yellow strip. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to start with one edge. I'm going to overlap just a little. And it can go through the, I kind of like it better when it's not in the middle. I'm going to make it narrower at the top. And to tell you the truth, if you're wanting to get it straight, it's a little easier than the skinnier the band is. It's a little easier for you to tell if you have it straight. I'm going to wrap it, and I'm going to try to maintain the same band width. This is going to wrap around, but before I fasten it down, I'm going to reinforce all of these folds. This really holds the box together, and instead of getting funny bulges on the corners, by doing each layer separately, it really does work nicely. So this final element, I'm going to go ahead and stick this so that it's fastened down. And I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the excess. Remember, the same thing is true of the yellow band. You would have the solid dots all the whole way around this as well. So you have to use your imagination and imagine that those bands are fully decorated. So you can see how easily you can actually create the box itself. And I'll bring this one over and show you. The only difference to this is instead of doing stripes, I did dots with my white pen, and then I just used a different colored paper to create stripes on the paper itself. That quickly and easily you can create the flavor that holds the box. Let me open this up so that I can show you how you would adapt this. So if you want to take and you want to make this box and turn it into a bag, you still need for there to be a base. So the bottom part would be the same. However, the top part, you would simply on your pattern add a handle to the front, and where you have this section, you would add a handle to this section, and then you would trim off these areas. So you could easily create, I'll bring this over so that you could see, you could easily turn the box into a bag by substituting the lid. Instead of having it be a lid, add the handles to the front and back. All of which you could do just with paper cuts on a trimmer, straight edges, which would not be difficult. Now that creates the holder for the candy, which I have to admit is very important. But we also want to look at the bats. And if you look at, I'm wearing one here. It's fun for the kids to also wear the bats. They can have them on their collars, on their lapels. If they have a pocket on a shirt, it works great. It can be fastened almost anywhere. Now to do that, what I did was I drew it, and don't be dissuaded saying, well, I don't know how to draw it. Look at how easy. I started with a circle, and whatever size circle is going to depend on what size bat you want. But I laid the circle down, and I've gone around it, and I've traced around it with a red pin so that you could see. Here was my first circle. Think about you're just creating an umbrella. So at the middle point, you're going to come out with just 2 scallops going both directions in order to create the bottom part of the wings, and you're going to snip off the top part of what would be the umbrella in order to create that pattern. So once you do that in however many sizes that you want, you really only have to do one, and then you can put it in the copier and reduce it or enlarge it as much as you want. Once you do that, then you're going to cut it out of black. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put adhesive behind where I don't want it. I'm going to put adhesive so that it will hold my pattern, but it won't actually stick permanently. So I have adhesive behind here and behind here and behind here and here. And I'll go ahead and I'll bring up my black paper, and then this will hold it in place long enough for me to cut out the elements. So I'm going to go ahead, and while I'm cutting out the bat, when I first started creating the favors, I was thinking about kids and Halloween and kids parties. But Halloween is one of those holidays that lots of adults like to celebrate and have parties as well. I made these bats for a friend of mine who's a hairstylist. And she has a son, and he's in 5th grade, and I thought he'd really enjoy it. Well, he never even got a chance. She loved these bats so much. They are clipped all over the hair salon, every station. They're clipped to the cords of the hair dryers. I mean, it's just such a fun thing And you can see how I've created the bat wing. I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut around. Notice how I've created two different versions. I couldn't decide if I wanted the bat to have the little feet or if I wanted him to go ahead and have one simple tail. And in order to cover my clothespin, it seemed like it worked a little bit better to do a tail. But basically this bat body is just an elongated oval with a little tip on one side and with the ears at what will be the top or the head. A simple thing to do, and something that you'll be surprised when you're finished how good it actually looks. So now I've got the bat wing and I've got the bat body. Before I attach them, I did add some embellishments. So let me show you. For the body, to really make it stand out, you can see that I have a little bit of a nick, which in all likelihood nobody's going to notice but me, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. So I'm going to use the white and I'm going to just go ahead and just draw a little line following the border around, because I'm going to be attaching the body directly over the wing with just the clothespin in the middle. This helps to define so that the body really stands out from the wingspan. So I've gone around him. I'm going to do something different with the wings. There's lots of different things you can do, and I'll show you different options in a minute. But what I did for this guy is I decided to make it look somewhat like, almost like spider web-ish. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to draw in sections. So I've created sort of an arc there, and I'm going to do the same thing on this end, draw kind of an arc on this end, and then I'll go back and I'll draw in the detail just with the white pen, which just adds a fun element to the bat. So you would do this on both wings. Let's see if I can do it fast enough. Now normally, since I'm right-handed, I should have done this side first. I'm going to turn this because I don't want my hand to actually get in the way. Let me finish this guy. Get in the way of and smear when I start to add the details to this second section. Now to do the middle section, I'm going to do something really similar. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see this as a similar arc. So I'm going to just come up from here to what would be like a midpoint and come up from here or down to the middle. I'll do the same thing with this side. I'll come to sort of a middle section, and I'm saying middle, you don't have to measure anything, it's just meant to be fun. So when I go back, and I won't stop to take the time, but when I go back in and I add all of the rest of the white lines to all of these other layers, it's eventually going to create a pattern that looks, you know, very similar to what you see here. After you have all of the details that you want, I just used little punches. So in order to do the punch, what I do is I take the paper and I add adhesive. When the punch is really tiny like this, I'm adding adhesive first. And then I'm going to, hopefully, I'll try to turn this so you can see the dot adhesive. I'm going to take, and this is going to punch out 3 holes. I'm going to put my finger so that it catches all 3. And look at how I now have the eyeballs with an extra for the bat, and adhesive is already on there. So now I'm going to bring this over to create the eyes of the bat, like so, and stick those down. And now it's time to go ahead and take and add the details to the clothespin. In order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'll fasten the wingspan down first. So I'm going to take a little piece of double stick tape and I'm going to put it right down the middle of the wings. You can use glue, you can use, you know, whatever adhesive you want. If kids are going to be wearing it, I just want it to be extra sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to try to turn this. I don't know how easy it is for you to see the tape, but I'm going to go ahead and place the clothespin directly over. So that's going to fasten, and then I can, you know, reinforce this way. That's going to fasten the wings down. And then for the body, I'm going to go ahead and use another little piece of double stick tape. Go ahead. Now I've only got a little bit on there. I would probably do, you know, the whole body just because it's that much sturdier. And I'm going to go ahead then and place him, oops, so he's directly over the top, and press that down. And you can see how quickly and easily you create these cool little bats. I mean, it is just the simplest and most fun thing. And once you do and get started with it, your kids will like helping you and making them too. And you'll just kind of be going batty. I know that's pun intended. Now the final thing that I want to show you, if you take a lot of photos at the Halloween time and you want a quick little scrapbook that you can use to place them into, especially if you want to make it for the kids, you want it to be simple and inexpensive. Just cutting black paper, I used an alphabet stickers to create the boo and a little bit of patterned paper and a hole punch for the holes, and then all I did, if you haven't seen me show this before, these are just the bird leg bands. We'll put a link to it on the website, but they cost pennies. They come in different sizes and colors, and they slide on and off. Let me go ahead and I'll take one of these off and then slide it back on so you can see. It's just like if you were taking a key off of a keychain. It just slides off. If you start with your holes, you just take this, and it's very pliable, so it's easy to open it up enough in order to slide it over your pages. Oops, I missed the back page. So let me get all of the pages. So when you've got it, I'll flip it so you can see when it's flipped over all of it, you just want to line it up so that it lines up with one of the holes, and then when it's lined up, just twist it on. And that easily and quickly, you have the cool beginnings of what will be a scrapbook, and inside will be the photos that you take at your celebration. So, you know, if you're planning a Halloween celebration this year, creative party favors will help make the festivities even more special.